Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon. Welcome back to Marotta Media. I know I've done this a million times, but I sincerely apologize for my extended absence. It has been a very busy month, and I've been watching a lot of movies, but honestly, I haven't really seen anything that I felt was worthy of a full YouTube review. But that changes today, because the movie I'm going to review today is a genre that I'm fairly certain I've never made a full review of since I've been on YouTube. And the movie I will be reviewing in this video is the HBO documentary BS High. BS High is a documentary that tells the story of the fake high school that is Bishop Sycamore. And if you're not familiar with the story of Bishop Sycamore, let me give you a brief synopsis because I remember watching this story play out in real time a few years ago. Bishop Sycamore was a high school that was based in Ohio, and the school started to gain a lot of notoriety when they played football powerhouse IMG Academy in a nationally televised football game on ESPN. And if you're not familiar, IMG Academy is probably the school when it comes to high school football in the United States. And this school is an absolute powerhouse. A lot of their players have made it to play in Division I college football as well as the NFL. But it was clear from the jump that Bishop Sycamore had no business playing in this game because IMG Academy whooped them by a score of 58-0. So I was eager to watch this documentary because I had heard a lot of really good things about it. And that was a breath of fresh air, especially when you consider all of the other disappointing sports documentaries that we've gotten recently. Namely, the Untold documentary about Johnny Manziel. I thought that documentary was a huge letdown. The story of Johnny Manziel is very interesting, but it feels like that movie provided absolutely no new information. And also coming from Untold is the Swamp Kings documentary about Florida football. And I have not seen that documentary, but I've heard from people that I trust that it's very disappointing because it kind of glosses over all of the most interesting parts of the story. But let me tell you right now, BS High does not do that. This movie shows you everything that went on during the creation of this fake high school. And as a result, you get a phenomenal movie, but also a very upsetting one. But that being said, as it stands right now, this is my favorite documentary of the year. So I'm going to try to go over certain points of the documentary without giving away too much because I really highly recommend this thing. And also obviously give my thoughts on what I liked and what I did not like. So the main subject of BS High is their head coach, Roy Johnson, and don't worry, I will absolutely elaborate more on him later. But he's basically the central focus, I guess the protagonist in a way. And it's established right from the beginning that this man is not all he claims to be. But before it goes deeper into that, it discusses things like his childhood, his upbringing, his love of football, and his desire to help kids in lower class communities. But that drive and ambition he has caused him to create what we now know as Bishop Sycamore, and we get to see the early stages of the creation of this school. And I'm truly blown away by how many people they got to interview for this documentary. Aside from Roy Johnson, they interview another coach, the players, several players I might add, players' moms, people who were close to the situation, an investigative reporter in Ohio. They even interview the video guys that Roy Johnson hired to film all of Bishop Sycamore's practices. But Roy himself gets the most screen time of anybody, without a doubt, and I could practically feel my skin crawl whenever that man was on screen. Without getting too personal, I will just say that Roy Johnson is one of the most disgusting, vile, despicable, awful human beings that I have ever seen. I don't really use this word to describe people, but I think it fits in this case. This man is just fucking evil. And to tell you the truth, I'm shocked that he even agreed to do this documentary. And I'm shocked he agreed to it because let me tell you, this documentary does not make him look good at all. He later admits why he agreed to do it, but I won't give anything away for you. And I think this documentary deserves props when it comes to that because it pulls no punches when talking about everything that this man has done. And I really respect that because I feel like a lot of documentaries these days, for example, the Untold documentaries that I mentioned, they try to make their very detestable subject look good in the end. They try to humanize them and say, yeah, they made some mistakes in their life, but underneath all of that, there's a good person. And this documentary does not do that at all when it comes to Roy Johnson. It lays out all the facts for the audience and says, here, do with this information what you will. And even though a lot of the information is very damning, you never know how someone will react to it. I'd be shocked if someone watched this documentary and said after finishing it, like, yeah, he's not that bad of a guy. But it truly covers this story from every possible angle. It does not take sides. Even though I just said it makes Roy Johnson look just awful in the end, it never feels like it takes sides because they let Roy tell his side of the story, even though his side of the story is absolutely delusional. The directors were actually smart enough to let him talk and tell the audience what he thinks is his truth. And I gotta say, the directors of this movie absolutely knew what they were doing because they asked Roy very hard-hitting questions. Without getting into spoilers, I will say that a few players accuse Roy of something, and all of these different players are confirming this story. And they ask Roy, like, a lot of players are saying this, is this true? And of course he denies it. But then they follow it up and say, well, if it isn't true, why would all of these players say that? They really hammered down on him. They never let the topic at hand die because the subject doesn't want to answer a hard-hitting question. And I really respect that. They just kept asking more and more because they wanted to get the truth. That's exactly what documentary filmmaking should be. And this movie, honestly, is kind of a very interesting character study. Even though this isn't a character, this is a real person. I guess I could have used a different terminology other than character study, but you know what I mean. It is a real look into the mind of this delusional, horrible man. It touches on everything that he's done, from the terrible to things that you probably don't think are all that bad. And through all of that, this man truly has the audacity to sit in front of those cameras and say that he has done nothing wrong. Let me give you an example. His rationale for why he did a lot of these things are, there's no law against it. One of them being the fact that he had people who were in their 20s on Bishop Sycamore's football team. Remember, this is supposed to be a high school. And context clues, when do you graduate high school? Typically when you're about 18. And he actually believes that there is no law that says you can't play high school sports once you reach a certain age. And the movie completely disproves that theory immediately without any regard, and oh my god, it was glorious. This man just truly looks like an idiot in all of this. But at the end, something interesting is kind of touched upon. Roy Johnson himself, again, says that he's not a bad person, he was just exploiting the broken system. And the movie definitely wants you to ponder the question of if this man is truly evil, or if the system itself is just so terrible that stupid people like Mr. Roy Johnson can exploit it for what it is. And it was a really interesting note to end on, and I absolutely see what they were going for, and it's a really good choice. But for me, the answer was very clear. In terms of things that I didn't quite like about this movie, I feel like there was just a lot of missed opportunities. I think a big missed opportunity would have been interviewing ESPN, because ESPN was dumb enough to air this nationally televised football game of this fake school, so they look stupid in all of this too. But they actually say that ESPN declined to comment, and I think it would have been great if ESPN actually added their 2 cents into this and explained how this fake school got away with this. And this is very nitpicky, but when they're interviewing players, there's a lot of reenactments of players just going about their day and their normal routine. And you can tell these are not genuine reenactments because they just come off very awkward looking, and their body language is so strange. But like I said, that's just a nitpick because this documentary is truly incredible. I know I didn't say a whole lot about this movie because, believe me, I just want you to experience it for yourself, but trust me, it's phenomenal. But just be prepared to be clenching your teeth with anger while you're watching it, because I was so pissed off while watching this movie. In fact, I felt kind of violated by the end of it, almost like I needed to take a shower. It was just so disgusting to watch all of these things happen to these poor kids who just had a dream of playing football, and this monster exploited their dreams for his own personal gain. I don't know how much of a review this is, more so than just me ranting about this man for however long the video length is, but either way, you get the point, and I truly cannot recommend this documentary enough. It's streaming on HBO Max right now, so go check it out. Yes, I'm still calling it HBO Max. It's going to be a very tough habit to break. And overall, I would give BS High a 9 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of BS High. If you guys watched this documentary, let me know what you thought about it. Were you just as shocked as I was, or did you think it was a little bit of a letdown? If you guys like this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.